Harry's Wife. Part 100.8. Alert. RoboBeige. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. You can see from the picture, in the thumbnail, conclusive proof that Harry's wife is in fact a robot. When I first looked at that picture, I was immediately put in mind of the film Ex Machina, an excellent film, the screenplay written, if my memory serves me correctly, by Alex Garland, and notable, of course, for mention of the awesome Depeche Mode, and an interesting tale of the use of artificial intelligence. Also noteworthy that where it's filmed is actually a restaurant and hotel, which I've been to. Very pleasant indeed it is also, but that's by the by. The picture one looks at causes one to ask the question, where are her fucking legs? It looks like she's been transplanted onto a surface. Of course, all of this is done jokingly, but it reinforces an important point about Harry's wife in terms of her roboticness. Narcissists experience a limited range of emotional responses. We experience fury, envy, jealousy, frustration, irritation, annoyance, hatred, antipathy, infatuation. The narcissist, of course, is able, though not all a narcissist can do this, but manufacture a range of responses to emulate certain emotions: happiness, joy, delight, sadness, concern, compassion, contrition, amongst many others. I have explained in my excellent and insightful video, The Imitation Game, which I recommend that you really must watch to help you understand more about narcissism and Harry's wife, precisely how the narcissist behaves. Harry's wife believes that she cares about people. She believes, for instance, that she loves Harry. She believes that she loves the children. She believes that she's kind and empathic. Her narcissism causes her to believe that in order to compel her to fit in, because by fitting in, it makes it easier for her to achieve that need for control of people around her. It makes it easier for her to achieve the receipt of fuel. It makes it easier for her to garner character traits and, of course, residual benefits. Many people, of course, liken the narcissist to a demon, to somebody that has been possessed, to an alien, to some kind of reptilian lizard in a meat suit, to a robot. And those comparisons are understandable, because there are instances where, because the narcissist is copying, engaging in mimicry, and the emulation of certain emotions and responses, that the narcissist does not get it quite right. For instance, in some instances, the narcissist might laugh at a moment when it's not a laughing matter. The narcissist often will smirk, the narcissism coming to the surface and giving itself away. Watch my video, The Narcissist Smirk, to understand more about that. You'll be rather surprised at what's really going on there. In some instances, the narcissist doesn't provide any response whatsoever. There's a glitch, there's a gap, and this is because the narcissism hasn't got a pre-prepared response to unpack and utilize in that situation. This is particularly the case with lesser narcissists. So, for instance, you might have injured yourself and you're crying, and you just get a blank stare from the narcissist. Why? This is because that narcissist not only has no emotional empathy, but there is no cognitive empathy to cause them to adopt the appropriate facial expression of concern and compassion, albeit false, and thus you're left with a blank stare. In some instances, there is a slight delay, and particularly keen students, you'll be able to see this, and it may just be very, very slight indeed. whereby there is a slight delay as the intellectual response, if you will, of the narcissist catches up with what should have been the emotional response. You, as an empathic individual, respond emotionally to situations before you might apply logic or intellect. That's the nature of many human beings, the application of emotional thinking rather than logic. The narcissist, absent of emotional empathy, doesn't respond in an emotional way in certain situations. Yes, the narcissist can respond with fury, but that's their emotion about themselves as opposed to the emotion that should be demonstrated to you. Instead, there's a delay as the narcissism sends off the cherry picker into that warehouse to find the appropriate response, bring it back, unpack it, and then apply it. The look in the eyes, the facial expression, the body language, the words used, and the tone and expression utilized by the narcissist. And there are instances where there is a delay in that regard. You can become expert and look for that. With Harry's wife, although I jokingly make reference to that picture making her look like a robot, it actually stands true, because she does behave in a robotic fashion. She does have cognitive empathy as a consequence of her mid-range narcissism. This means that she has learned through her narcissism that in certain instances she should respond in a particular way, sound sympathetic, look concerned, exhibit contrition, exhibit compassion. However, it's all false, because it's not coming from a genuine place of emotional empathy, and in effect, her narcissism is like a robot which is learning. In the film Ex Machina, the creator of the artificial intelligence explains that he utilized the phones that he has created as part of his vast empire to draw in so much information that could be absorbed by the AI so that it could then learn millions upon millions of words, responses, actions, details, both in terms of video input and audio input. And all of this is simulated so that the artificial intelligence has a vast repository of responses in certain situations to learn from, and thus understands that when A happens, the appropriate response to fit in is B. When C occurs, respond with D. And it becomes more and more evolved as it speeds up its understanding of the same. Harry's wife narcissism has a good understanding of the responses that it should detail. But of course, as we've seen, and please do go to various parts passing of the Harry's wife series, there are instances where her narcissism, in effect, glitches. We see the failure to keep the ignited fury under control. It comes to the surface. We see the death stare. We see the rictus grin. We see the fixed jaw. All of those manifestations of what's going on underneath the facade, and demonstrates that that facade, the artificial intelligence, if you will, isn't always able to get there quick enough, allowing a glimpse of what's really going on underneath. But her responses are, in effect, robotic. They are guided not by emotional empathy, although she thinks that they are, but they're guided by her narcissism. Archie falls down, look concerned. But of course, the narcissism will only do that where it deems that it is appropriate. And there'll be many of you who'll be familiar with instances whereby there has been a failure for that to take place, and you're left wondering why. The reason is, the narcissism only dictates to utilize these expressions of contrition, compassion, concern, care, interest, etc., where it deems that it's useful to do so. If the narcissism can get what it wants without expending that energy, those reactions, utilization of those assets and resources, it will not do so. So whilst I jokingly remark upon this photograph of Harry's wife making her look as if part of her torso has been melded onto something and that she's robotic, it does give me an excellent opportunity to explain to you how her responses are, in effect, akin to that of a robot, as she's guided by her inherent and all-consuming narcissism. It's important that you recognize this, and I would encourage you to utilize my other videos that expand upon this. There's nearly 3,000 of them on my channel that you can go to and watch and listen to and understand even more. Make sure that you have subscribed to this channel. Some of you who have already subscribed may have found that following the temporary cessation of the channel that your subscription has been removed, so double check on that. And of course, set your notification bell so that you get a ding-a-ling when the Ultra is calling you. After all, you wouldn't want to be remiss and avoid hearing the delicious, velvety tones of your glorious narrator continuing to explain to you what Harry's wife is, what she does, and, more generally, about narcissism as a whole. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.